Hello and welcome to this video. We are going to talk about ecosystems and communities interactions. So let's start with the topic biomes. First of all, we have to know what they are, and they are described in terms of biotic factors like plant and animal life, and abiotic factors like climate and soil type. Also, they are associated with seasonal patterns of temperature and precipitation. The organisms within each biome can be characterized by adaptations that enable them to live and reproduce successfully in the environment. As you can see in the map, biomes are distributed all around Earth with different temperatures. Wait, temperatures? This word carries us to see concepts that makes different to each biome. That is climate and weather. They are too much similar, but the difference between them is that climate refers to the average of conditions as precipitation in long periods of time, while the weather is focused in day-per-day average of the same conditions. From this, there's search another term that is microclimate, which means the variation of environmental conditions over small distances. Now, talking about conditions, we are going to talk about the ones found in aquatic ecosystems such as estuaries or the ocean. First, we have the water depth. This has strongly influence in aquatic life because sunlight penetrates a relatively short distance through water. Then, sunlight region near to the surface is called photic zone, and it is where the photosynthesis occurs, and below there is a photic zone where photosynthesis can't occur. The temperature and currents are other conditions which often vary with depth, and the last one is the nutrient availability. As organisms need certain substances, the type and availability of these substances vary within and between bodies of water. Now that we saw those factors, we are ready to learn about aquatic ecosystems. They are classified, and we are going to see each one of those classifications briefly. One classification is freshwater, which divides in other three categories. The first one, rivers and streams. They often originate from underground water sources in mountains or hills. Animals depend on terrestrial plants and animals that live along their banks for food. The second one is lakes and ponds. The water typically in and out of lakes and ponds circulate between the surface and bentos during at least some seasons. The third and last one is freshwater wetlands. In their water either covers the soil or it is present at or near the surface for at least part of the year. Water may flow through freshwater wetlands or stay in place. Other ecosystem is estuary, which is a special kind of wetland formed where a river meets the sea. They contain a mixture of fresh water and salt water. Also, they support an astonishing amount of biomass. And finally, they serve as spawning and nursery grounds for many ecologically and commercially important fish and shellfish species. The last aquatic ecosystem is a marine one. The ecologists typically divide the ocean into zones based on depth and distance from shore. So yeah, there are more classifications. The first one is the intertidal zone. A typically rocky intertidal community exists in temperate regions where exposed the rocks line the shore. The second, the coastal ocean, which extends from the low tide mark to water of the continental shelf, the relatively shallow border that surrounds the continents. Water here is brightly light and is often supplied with nutrients. Open sea. The other zone begins at the edge of the continental shelf and extends outward. More than 90% of the world's ocean area is considered open sea. Now that we learned something about ecosystems, it is important to know that in each ecosystem there are living organisms which constantly interact among themselves. The range of physical and biological conditions in which a species lives and the way the species obtains what it needs to survive and reproduce is called niche. And from it there surge the tolerance. the ability to survive and reproduce under a range of environmental circumstances, and also a species tolerance for environmental conditions, then helps determine its address or habitat, the general place where organisms live. Between the interactions, there is a competition. It occurs because there are limited sources and different organisms that want to get them. For example, resources such as food, mate, and places to live and raise their young. There are two main types of competition. The first one, the exclusion principle, tells us that the competition between different species almost always produces a winner and a loser. It states that no two species can occupy the same niche at the same time and the same habitat, while the other is named dividing resources. As its name says, that species in the same habitat divide what they get in order to benefit themselves. In the competition enters different kinds of relationships among the organisms. For example, the predator-prey relationship, in which one animal captures and feeds on another animal. Predators can affect the size of prey populations in a community. Other relationship is that herbivore-plant relationship is the interaction between the herbivores and plants. Herbivore can affect both the size and the distribution of plant population. The keystone species are the ones which support almost all the community where it lives, and if that species will disappear, it can cause dramatic changes in the structure of the community. The form in which organisms depend on others is named symbiosis. There are three general ways to name the existing relationships of organisms. The interaction in which both organisms help and protect each other, resulting both in a benefit, is called mutualism. Then, when one organism turns benefited from the other by causing it damage or affecting it, is nominated as parasitism. And the last one, in which other organisms get benefited while the other is neither harmed or nor helped, is named commensalism.